Okay, let's be honest. Senior living alone isn't usually the ideal scenario that many envision. On certain days, it seems liberating. On other days, it's like you're the only one at a party that ended 30 years ago. Here's the problem, though. It's not necessary to live small when living alone. Actually, doing more isn't the key to living life to the fullest at this point in life. It involves letting go of a few things that have been burdening you. In order to help seniors who live alone feel lighter, more liberated, and much happier, I want to lead you through 10 things that you should forget today. We'll make it enjoyable, so don't worry. There won't be any finger-wagging or lectures, just some chuckles, some honest facts, and hopefully a few suggestions you can put to use tonight. First of all, disregard the notion that loneliness is inherent. This is the mistake that most people make. Being alone does not always equate to loneliness. Somewhere along the road, society taught us that we are doomed to be unhappy if we are alone at home or without a companion at the table. That isn't reality, though. That is simply outdated thinking. I remember a comment from a widower who said, "I thought my house would feel empty after my wife passed. Turns out it feels like peace. I can read when I want, sleep when I want, and no one hides the remote." That made me laugh, but it also hit me hard. He wasn't denying the loss. He was reframing what being alone could mean. The truth is, loneliness isn't about how many people are in the room. You can sit at a crowded family dinner and still feel unseen, or you can sit on your porch with a good book and a cup of tea and feel completely content. Connection isn't always about numbers. It's about quality. Now, don't get me wrong, living alone does require a little effort to keep the social side of life alive. You've got to pick up the phone sometimes, send that message, or pop into the senior center. But the beauty is you get to choose. You decide when you want company and when you want solitude. And there's nothing wrong with enjoying both. One woman put it best: "Living alone gave me back my freedom to choose." Loneliness is when you have no choices. I have plenty. That's wisdom. Alone is not a sentence. It's a season, and often a very freeing one. 2. Forget cooking has to be a big production. Now let's talk about food, because this one trips up so many seniors. Somewhere deep in our bones, we're still wired to cook like we're feeding a whole family. Roast, 3 sides, dessert, and a sink full of dishes. But here's the honest truth. When you live alone, cooking should not feel like a Broadway performance every night. One gentleman said, "I still find myself peeling 5 potatoes out of habit, then realize I'm the only one eating, so I eat mashed potatoes for 3 days straight." We've all been there, right? Old habits stick, but here's where the freedom of living alone kicks in. You don't have to impress anybody. If dinner is a grilled cheese sandwich and a pickle, that's a perfectly respectable meal. If breakfast for dinner makes you smile, scramble those eggs and don't apologize. One woman confessed she sometimes eats ice cream straight from the tub at 8 p.m. Because who's going to stop me? I love that. That's not laziness. That's joy with a spoon. And hey, if cooking a meal feels like too much work, I've pinned a link for you in the comments with over 50 soup recipes designed for real life. They're light, comforting, and easy to digest. Perfect for those days when your appetite is low or when you just want to feel a little restored. So, be sure to grab a copy. It might just save you on a night when the thought of chopping onions feels like running a marathon. The trick is to think less about tradition and more about practicality and pleasure. Cook in smaller portions. Freeze extra so that future you will thank present you. Try assembly meals like crackers, cheese, fruit, and maybe a little glass of wine that don't even require a stove. And most importantly, drop the guilt about it. Food isn't about proving you're capable of hosting Thanksgiving every night. It's about feeding yourself in ways that feel nourishing, easy, and sometimes just plain fun. I know one senior who calls his Friday night experiment night. He grabs whatever's left in the fridge and invents a new recipe. He admits some of them are terrible, but he laughs about it. That's the spirit. Cooking when you live alone should feel like self-care, not self-punishment. Whether that's a hearty stew you stretch for a week or popcorn for dinner while watching your favorite show, both count as living fully. 3. Keeping the whole house company ready. Let me be blunt, my friend. Your home is not a museum, and you are not running a bed and breakfast, but you'd be surprised how many seniors still act like unexpected guests might burst through the door at any moment for a white glove inspection. Why? That pressure to keep the house spotless at all times is leftover thinking from another era. Back when company just dropped by unannounced and you were judged on how shiny your floors were. Guess what? Nobody does that anymore. And if they do, they're probably not the kind of friends you need anyway. I knew a woman who said she still polished her coffee table every evening because her mother-in-law, 30 years gone, once criticized her for fingerprints on the glass. Can you believe that? She was still cleaning for the ghost of a judgmental relative. Living alone means you get to decide what's clean enough. When you're the only one walking through the front door, the only standard that matters is yours. If the sink has 2 plates in it, who cares? If the laundry sits on the chair for a day or two, congratulations. You've just given yourself a break. Dust bunnies, they don't bite. One guy joked, "I vacuum before friends come over, but only so they don't think I've been wrestling squirrels in the living room." That's about as far as you need to go. A lived-in home is proof of life, not failure. The truth is, when you let go of the need to keep your house company ready, you gain back time and energy, and you can spend that time doing things that actually make you happy. Reading, gardening, napping, even binge-watching old shows. No one, and I mean no one, ever said on their deathbed, "I wish I'd scrubbed more baseboards." Forget that pressure. Your home should serve you, not the imaginary company you're preparing for. 4. Forget the stigma about asking for help. Now let's tackle this one because it's a biggie. Too many seniors carry pride around like a heavy backpack. They think asking for help is a sign they're slipping, or worse, a burden to others. But here's the reality. Asking for help is not weakness. It's actually wisdom. I remember a story from a man who strained his back carrying a bag of soil from the trunk. He admitted later that his teenage neighbor had offered to help, but he refused because he didn't want to look helpless. The result? He spent 2 weeks stuck in his recliner, glaring at the soil bag every time he looked out the window. Tell me, which one looks more helpless, letting a teenager help for 5 minutes or being sidelined for half a month? People like to feel useful. Think about it. Back in the day, didn't you feel good when someone asked you for advice or a hand with something? That's still true for others now. The boy next door might be thrilled to mow your lawn because it puts cash in his pocket. Your daughter might feel better knowing you asked her to pick up milk because it means you're letting her into your life. Asking creates connection, not shame. One woman put it perfectly. "Every time I ask my neighbor for help carrying groceries, he thanks me. He says I gave him an excuse to check in and feel neighborly. I thought I was bothering him. Turns out I was giving him a gift. That's a whole new way of looking at it." Here's the thing. Independence doesn't mean doing everything yourself until you break. Real independence means knowing how to use the tools, people, and resources around you so you can keep living well on your own terms. And sometimes that tool is a helping hand. Forget the old stigma. You're not weak for asking. You're smart. And if anyone ever tries to make you feel otherwise, just smile and say, "Well, when you're my age, you'll understand." 5. Forget saving the good stuff for later. Now this one. Oh boy, this one gets me fired up. I can't tell you how many seniors I've talked to who admit they've got a cabinet full of the good dishes that almost never see the light of day, or the fancy perfume their spouse bought them years ago that they're still saving. Saving for what? The Queen's visit. Listen, if you've got china you love, pour your morning cereal in it. If you've got a sweater that makes you feel like $1,000,000, wear it to the grocery store. Forget waiting for the mythical special occasion. You know what makes a day special? You being here alive, choosing to enjoy it. I remember one man saying he had a bottle of expensive whiskey he'd been saving for years. Finally, at 78, he popped it open one random Tuesday night while watching a baseball game. He said, I realized if I wait much longer, someone else will be drinking this at my funeral, and I'd rather it be me. That's wisdom right there. Saving the good stuff comes from this old mindset. Maybe it was drilled into us as kids that we should ration joy. That luxury or delight is earned only on birthdays, holidays, or when company comes over. But when you live alone, guess what? You're the company and you deserve the best of what you own every single day. I'll even say it with a little humor. Wear that nice shirt while you're making toast. Spritz on the good cologne before you head out to buy batteries. Eat cake on a Monday just because it's Monday. Life isn't about hoarding your joy for later. It's about using it up while you still can. And here's the kicker. When you use your good stuff now, you realize it's not about the item. It's about the feeling. That china plate isn't just porcelain. It's dignity and celebration. That perfume isn't just a smell. It's confidence in a bottle. That whiskey, it's a toast to yourself for still being here. So please forget the waiting game. Pop the cork, light the candles, use the nice towels, because every day you wake up is a special occasion, whether the world notices or not. 6. Holding on to every little thing. You know what I've noticed? A lot of us spend our later years living inside what feels less like a home and more like a storage unit. Closets stuffed with clothes from the 70s, kitchen drawers full of plastic lids with no matching containers, and boxes in the garage that haven't been opened since Reagan was in office. And the funny part is, half the time, we don't even remember what we're keeping, just that it feels too hard to let go. But here's the truth, my friend. Holding on to every little thing only weighs you down. That teapot you never use but keep just in case. The holiday decorations you don't have the energy to put up anymore. They're not serving you. You're serving them. One gentleman finally decided to tackle his garage. He admitted he found a box labeled important papers from 1992, inside old coupons and a broken flashlight. He said it was like digging through a time capsule of nonsense. The moment he tossed it all, he said he felt 10 pounds lighter. Not his body, his mind. Letting go doesn't mean throwing away your memories. It means keeping the best ones and releasing the rest. That wedding dress you'll never wear again. Maybe give it to your granddaughter for fabric. Those old tools you can't lift anymore, pass them to a neighbor who will put them to use. The things that are truly meaningful will stay, but the clutter that just steals space, energy, and sometimes even joy. One woman said she finally donated her good china after realizing she hadn't touched it in 20 years. She laughed and said, "Turns out my good china was good at collecting dust." Once it was gone, she gained cabinet space and a strange sense of freedom. So forget holding on to every little thing. Your home should feel like a place to live, not a museum of everything you've ever owned. Keep the memories, sure, but let the objects go. Trust me, the more space you create in your home, the more space you create in your life. 7. Believing fun is for the young. This one always makes me smile. Somewhere along the way, someone told us that fun has an expiration date, like milk, that after a certain age, you're supposed to settle into the serious business of being old. Sit quietly, knit a little, maybe watch the news, but definitely don't act silly or adventurous. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Fun doesn't belong to the young. Fun belongs to anyone who remembers how to laugh, how to try something new, or how to not care what the neighbors think. I'll never forget reading about an 82-year-old man who bought a skateboard just so he could roll down his driveway one afternoon. His neighbors thought he'd lost his marbles. He said, "Maybe I did, but I found my smile." That's fun. That's life. And fun doesn't have to be wild or dangerous. It can be as simple as joining a karaoke night, taking a painting class, or blasting your favorite music while you mop the floor. One woman said she started hula hooping in her living room for exercise. She admitted she looks ridiculous and then added, "That's half the joy of it." Think about it. When was the last time you laughed so hard your cheeks hurt? That should be happening at every age. And yet, too many seniors cut themselves off from joy because they've bought into the lie that fun is childish. Forget that. The moment you stop allowing yourself to have fun, you start aging faster than any calendar can make you. Fun is what keeps you feeling alive. It's not reserved for the kids on bikes or the 20s at concerts. It's for you, too. Whether that means dancing in your kitchen, learning a TikTok trend with your grandkids, or finally joining that community theater group you've been secretly eyeing. So let's make this clear. Fun is not optional. It's fuel. And if anyone ever says, "Aren't you too old for that?" simply smile and respond, "Are you too old to have fun?" Not a chance. Too old to care what you think? Absolutely. 8. Comparing yourself to couples. I'll be straight with you. This one's tough because everywhere you look, it feels like the world is made for two. Restaurant tables are set for pairs. Vacation packages advertise romantic getaways. And even those little heart-shaped pizzas assume there's someone sitting across from you. It can make living alone feel like you're missing out. But here's the reality. Couples aren't automatically happier, and living alone doesn't mean you've lost out on love or companionship. I remember a comment from a widower hour who said, "For years, I thought everyone in pairs was better off." Then I began to notice the stress over trivial matters, the arguing at the grocery store, and the stillness between them at meals. I came to understand that being in a relationship does not ensure happiness. It merely ensures company. That was like a hammer to me. You see, when we're by ourselves, we tend to romanticize relationships while forgetting the other half of the tale, having to make a compromise when choosing a television program. When you'd rather sprawl out like a starfish, you're sharing a bed, hearing someone snore each and every night. None of that has to be your problem, my friend. You are free. It's quiet when you want it, and you can munch popcorn for supper without anyone noticing. It's not a defeat. That's a victory. Does that imply that friendship is harmful? Obviously not. Independence is just as lovely as human connection. The issue arises when you allow comparisons to rob your own happiness. Love and meaning are not exclusive to couples. Friendships, the community, family, or even that barista who calls you by name each morning can give you it. Don't compare yourself to couples then. They have a life of their own. You possess yours. And keep this in mind if you truly desire perspective. Many couples secretly wish they had the independence and tranquility you enjoy every day. 9. Don't wait for the major moments. This one now. It's cunning, I see. A lot of individuals live as though life hasn't really begun yet. When they finally buy that item they've been saving for, when the grandchildren visit, or when they take that big trip, they believe happiness will arrive. Even while those significant occasions are amazing, they don't occur frequently. You will miss the everyday sparkles that make life worthwhile if you wait for the fireworks to enjoy it. One man told me something I really liked. He stated, "After my wife passed, I kept putting off doing little things for myself because I thought they'd feel empty alone. Then one morning, I bought myself fresh flowers for the table. It was like my kitchen came alive. That's when I realized the big moments I thought I needed were hiding in small, everyday ones." That's wisdom right there. Living fully when you're alone means savoring the ordinary. A good cup of coffee on the porch while the birds argue in the trees. Watching a sunset and realizing you don't need to narrate it for anyone else. It's just for you. Making a pot of soup and enjoying how the house fills with that warm, familiar smell. These aren't small moments at all. They're the very fabric of life. One woman said, "I used to save my nice pajamas for when family stopped by. I now eat chocolate in bed and wear them on Tuesday nights." If you allow it, every night may be a significant occasion. That's the essence. You run the risk of allowing entire weeks and months to pass you by if you spend your days anticipating the big events, the vacation, the romance, or the reunion. However, life feels more expansive, whole, and wonderful than you could have ever imagined if you begin to view each day as a celebration in and of itself. Don't wait for the major moments. The pivotal moments have already arrived. You're simply reading your book, sipping your tea, or giggling over a ridiculous recollection. Filler between events is not what that is. That's what's good. 10. Don't think you're done developing. My friend, let me tell you something. The most common misconception about growing older is that life has already been written, as if the book has already been finished, and you're now just sitting in a rocking chair and going through previous chapters again. Foolishness. In actuality, you continue to grow as long as you are still breathing. One elderly man I recall made the decision to study Italian. He simply shrugged and responded, "So what?" in response to people making fun of him and saying, "Why bother? You'll never be fluent." Every word I learn is one more than I knew yesterday. That's the essence. Being flawless at anything isn't the goal of growth. We were taught throughout our lives to develop in our education, careers, and family life. It's about maintaining our curiosity and having a cause to wake up tomorrow and ask ourselves, what's next? Think about it. However, people cease expecting that after you reach a certain age. You shrink if you believe them when they practically pat you on the head and tell you, just relax, you've done enough. A miniature version of yourself emerges. You're not finished either. Not even close. Perhaps learning to play that dusty guitar in the corner or trying your hand at short story writing are steps toward personal development. Perhaps all you need to do is download a language app and learn a few French words so you can say bonjour to the grocery store clerk. Massive growth is not necessary. It simply must be forward. Growth, let's face it, keeps you sharp. On a senior forum, a man made a joke about how playing Sudoku prevents his brain from rusting. Another woman began painting at the age of 70, and she currently sells small watercolor cards to her neighbors. That goes beyond simple growth. In what some refer to as the winter season of life, that is blossoming. Therefore, don't think that your story is finished. You're not finished. You still have lessons to learn, songs to sing, and chapters to write. Heck, you might be surprised to find that this is the greatest phase of your life to yet. There you have it. If you truly want to live your life as you see fit, there are 10 things you should disregard. Because this is the reality. It's not a penalty to live alone. It's a chance to experience life without regret or obligation. Yes, without having to peel 5 potatoes when you only need 1. Try it this week and see what happens if even one of these things resonates. Please click the subscribe button if you would want to receive more small boosts like this one. It truly makes it easier for me to continue bringing you these discussions. Tell me which forgetting you're ready to practice first in the comments section as well. Who knows? Maybe someone else watching this will find inspiration in your response. Go live life to the fullest, my friend. There is not enough time in life to wait for the major events. Sometimes the sweetest nights are those when you eat popcorn for dinner.